All right, hi everyone. This is Daniel Gregg speaking, and I'm going to continue a presentation on how to determine the year and the first month of the year. Okay, so there are a few viewer questions that are relevant to this topic, so I want to answer as best I can these questions. One of the questions, the first of the questions actually anticipates, or I'm going to cover the topic in more detail in this video. Okay, so let's take a look at the question here. All right, here's the question. Sojourner Flower says, the new moon in March this year was spotted on 3/11/24. Okay, so that's correct. I can bring up the calendar here. You see the arrow there, that marks when the new moon was seen, and this is the new moon day here. So the new moon was seen, if you look down here, that's March 12. This would be March 11, where there's a blank spot here. Okay, so that's when the new moon was spotted. Okay, so our viewer says, I was under the impression that this made the first day of the new year in 2024 as 3/12/2024. Okay, so the answer to this question is that the first day of the month of Nisan is the first day of a lunar year, okay? Whereas when I'm talking about March 19, and we can bring that back up here, March 19 right here, this is the first day of the solar year as determined by the sun. Okay, so we have different kinds of years. Okay, to give you an example, we have a tax year that doesn't necessarily agree with the first day of a year according to the sun. And we have all kinds of other years defined for legal purposes and other purposes. So the lunar year is a year determined by a month, and a lunar year is not 365 days or 366. It's 353, 354, or 355 days in the case of a 12-month year, or if it has a leap year, it could be 380, I think 83. You add 30 to those figures and you can get 383, 84, and I think 385 days. So lunar years. Okay, so we have many things called a year, but they're all based on the idea of the solar year. We could say that the solar year is a literal year, and then a period of time that's approximately the same length as the solar year can also be called a year by kind of a metaphorical association with the solar year. Okay, so we just have to realize that we're talking about two different kinds of years here. So we can call Nissan 1 New Year's Day if we just realize that it's the beginning of the lunar year. Okay, it's not to deny that the solar year also has a beginning day too when we count that out. Okay, that's defined by a cycle of the sun. Okay, so if we look at the continuation of this question here, is the first day of the first lunar not the beginning of the new year? As long as we're speaking of new lunar year, yes, this is the case. But I was speaking in our last video of the beginning of the solar year, because the beginning of the solar year is determinative for figuring out when the first month is. And that will be the topic of this video. Okay, I understand your argument for the sun is, but why is the moon not considered? Okay, so in the last video I didn't say, I may have mentioned the new moon, but I'm not. This video we're going to consider the moon and its relation to the solar year as how to determine when the first month is. Okay, so we have another question here. What are the three numbers represented under the Julian date? Are they year, month, or day? Asked by Yushami King 53. Okay, so if we minimize our questions here, he's asking about this Julian day box. Now, if you see here, this is Stellarium. Their program is a little bit, it's not always intuitive as to what they mean. Okay, So this is the year here, 2024. This is the month, um, March 3, and this is the day, 19. And then what this over here is this is the hours and military time, okay, and universal time, so 1700 hours, okay, and 47 minutes and 43 seconds. Okay, so this Julian day here actually has nothing to do with this down here. This is another tab, okay? And if you click on this tab, it reveals the Julian date and the modified Julian date. Okay, so the modified Julian date, um, I'm not sure I understand that completely, okay, but what I use is this. This actually allows you to set the program with one long number with a decimal without having to enter in all of this data here. All of this data right here is compressed into this one number called the Julian day right here. Okay, so they're essentially equivalent times. This is an equivalent time, this is an equivalent time, and this is an equivalent time. They're all different ways of expressing exactly the same time, so the program can be set at the same moment. Okay. All right, so that answers that question. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what makes the first month of a year. Okay, so in Exodus chapter 3 and no, chapter 13 and verse 10, let's look that up here. Okay, so actually we want to talk about Genesis 4 first here. So I'll go to my ESV interlinear right here. I know I'm working on a fresh interlinear translation, but that's on summer work hiatus. Okay, here it says in the ESV, in the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground. Okay, so this is one of the mistranslations I was referring to, and it's a mistranslation that serves to basically erase the solar year from being visible to the reader of the translations. Okay, so what the verse actually says in the Hebrew, okay, it's kind of located in the fine print here. Okay, Wayehi Miketz Yamim, okay, and literally, and it was at the end of days, okay, is what it says and so I explained that Ketzah means an end point, and Kates means the end or the limit, and then Yamim here means days. So literally at the limit or the end of days, okay. So it's saying at the end of the days of the old year, when the first day of the new year came in, that's when they brought the offering, okay. So this is before the Torah has defined more specifically when offerings are to be brought. And so at this time they would bring an offering on the first day of the solar year. Okay, so it's an indication that the solar year is marked. Okay, so if we turn over to Exodus 13, okay, we will see this definition of the year further invoked. Okay, and another text that is mistranslated, all right. And let's see here. 13. Exodus 13:10. Okay, so I'll read it in the regular ESV translation first, okay. And let's see, if I look down, I'm trying to figure out how to solve my focal problem here. One way to do it is to back it out like that a little bit. Okay, and then keep the box on my head. All right, so in the translation, the ESV translation, you shall therefore keep this statute at its appointed time from year to year. Okay, so what he's talking about, he's saying back in verse 7, unleavened bread shall be eaten for 7 days, no leavened bread shall be seen with you, and no leaven shall be seen with you in all your territory. You shall tell your son in that day, it is because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. And it shall be a sign, as a sign on your hand, and as a memorial between your eyes, that the law of the Lord may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand the Lord brought you out of the land of Egypt. You shall therefore keep this statute at its appointed time from year to year. Okay, so year to year is not a literally accurate translation, but it is giving the sense here. If we know what is underneath this translation, we'll get a better idea of what year to year is and a better idea of when the statute is to be kept. Okay. Washamar ta et hahukat hazot lamoeda miyamim yami ma. Okay, so literally, and you shall keep the statute at its appointed time from days to days. From days to days is what it says here. Okay, and that's because a solar year is defined as one set of 365 days in an ordinary year, or if it's in a long year, 366 years. So there shall be a Passover be kept in one set of days, and then the next Passover would be kept in the next set of the days. Okay, so what you can derive from this is that there's another commandment that says that 3 feasts shall be kept in a year, and this is speaking of pilgrim feasts, okay, where they go up to Jerusalem, to the tabernacle, the sanctuary, or the temple, and you got to have 3 feasts in the year. Now, if one is not paying attention to the fact that this year here is defined as so many days and intercalates the calendar wrong, then it's possible to keep 4 feasts in one year by miscalculating it. Okay, so if we go back over to our screen here, okay, we have, let's go back to date and time here. Okay, there we go. And bring up the calendar here. Let's get the right tab for that. So we got the calendar here. Okay, so the Passover here, okay, so we have our lunar month here, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 29 days for the first month of the year in 2024 here. Okay, and then we have Passover, the first day of unleavened bread, being here on the 15th day, okay, or beginning at sunset on the 14th, and continuing for 7 days till the 7th day of unleavened bread, okay, on the second day of the next week. All right, so we have to we see that Passover day occurs on March 26th here, so you just have to line this up. 3 weeks down, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, March 26th. Okay, so that marks the first day of unleavened bread here, and we see that the solar year has begun on March 19, as explained in the last video, before the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So this ensures that the Passover is occurring in the new year on the first opportunity for it to occur. Now, if this spring equinox, if the first day of the year were to fall too late, like at the end of Passover week or in the middle of Passover week, then that would be to celebrate the feast. That would be celebrating 4 feasts, 4 pilgrim feasts in the same year, okay? So it wouldn't be legal, okay? So that's how we determine whether to add a 13th month to the calendar or not. So the rule is that the spring equinox, the first day of the solar year, has to occur on or before the Passover, before the 15th of the month. Okay, and so that's why we sight in at sunset here. So we can figure it out. So if, technically speaking, if we use, I'll show you some examples later of how this works. Okay, but another way of stating this is that the first month of the year is the month in which half or more of the days of the month fall in the new year. Okay, so if if the spring equinox falls on the 15th day of the month, then days 15 through, if it's a 29-day month, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 days left. So 15 days out of 29 days would fall in the new year, and that would be the first month. Okay, so if it was 30 days long, then at least half of the days would fall in the new year. If the spring equinox, however, fell on the 16th day of the month, and the month was 30 days long, then we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15 again. Okay, so actually, it's the Passover. In that case, the rule has a flaw in it. Okay, so we have to go back to specifically what the rule is, and that is that the Passover must fall in the new year from days to days. Okay, so if the spring equinox were to fall on the 16th day of the month, that wouldn't count because the Passover offering would now be being eaten on a day, and the first day of unleavened bread would be on a day that's not in the new year. Okay, so that's how we figure that out. Okay, so now I want to run through some examples here of borderline cases so you can see how this works. Okay, so if we look at 2 BC, when Yeshua was born, which we've been talking about, this is a case of a borderline case. Okay, so I go back to my program here and get out of 2024 here and put in -2 for 2 BC and pull that up. So now we have the calendar for Aviv of 2 BC here. Okay, so if we look at the solar year down here, and let's key this over here into 2 BC here too. Let's go 1, -1, okay, and then let's see, March 22, and we bring the sun down. It's too far. Bring it down here, okay. Okay, so there it's sunset on March 22nd in 2 BC. Our sun has reached the westernmost point in its movement in the heavens, all right? And we see here on the calendar on the side here that March 22nd is the first day of the year. So this is the first day of the year. Now, we back up and we see that the new moon was seen on March 7 in this year, okay, making the new moon day March 8th. So we count out here 15 days, and we find that the first day of the year and the first day of Passover coincide on the same day. So that's the earliest point at which Passover can occur. Okay, that's the earliest point at which the Feast of Unleavened Bread can begin. Okay, so if the first day of the year was one day later, then we would have to add a 13th month to 2 BC. Okay, so the consequence of this, this is what we call an extreme case here when the parameters are really close to the borderline. Okay, so if we go from month 1 here to month 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's the 7th month here. Okay, so we've been talking about September 1 being the birth date of Yeshua. Okay, and so this is when the moon appears clothed in the woman with the sun under her feet here. So that would be September 1. So if we bounce up here in our program yearly to month 9, okay, and then we go the first day, all right. Okay, so now we need to advance the minutes here. Okay, since this is not actually the fall equinox, the sun is still partly in the summer here. Okay, so we're over here. And now if we turn on our constellation art here, okay, and we back out a little bit, all right, So we see the woman, the sun and the woman here, and here's the moon over here. So this is on the western horizon. We need this. What we need is the eastern horizon here. So let's track the sun back over to the east here. Okay, and then we can go like this here. Okay. So now we have the moon under the feet here. There's the moon right there. This is the new moon day. The evening before the crescent would have been seen. Okay, and then if we push the sun down here, okay, we see that we have the heliacal rising of Sadek or Jupiter. Okay, so this is the reappearance of the planet Jupiter here on this day. Okay, so that's why this is significant here. So that shows that um, the year can be intercalated as early as that. Now, if we look at one more example here, we can look at the year for Yeshua's death and resurrection. Okay, and I got the calendar up here. Okay, and we can go over to AD 34 here, like this here, and here it is right here. Okay, and so we can type in the year 34 there, and then we can type in March. Okay, and if I can remember what the day was here, let's go back to the western horizon. Okay, here. All right, and then we could put up the calendar again here. The new moon was seen on March 10, okay, at sunset. All right, so let's bring the sun down here to the westernmost horizon, and let's find out where the moon is. Okay, 34 March. Oh, guys, the day is wrong. Okay, so we need, I said March 10, right? Okay, so there's the moon right there. Okay, so that's the new moon. Back up in the minutes here. Okay, so there's the setting sun, and the moon will be there, but after sunset, it becomes visible on this day. Okay, so this program, you have to come down about here, sufficiently dark, and then we can zoom in on the moon there, and we can see that there's now a crescent there. Okay, so that's the first that the new moon could be seen in AD 34 here. Okay, so we bring our calendar back up here, and we see that the first day of the year, the solar year, was on March 22nd, right here. Okay, March 22nd. So if we go here to March 22nd, so we see, we can back up here and look at the sun. Okay, we see that on the new moon day, where is the sun here on the new moon day? Just to bring it up, see here, the sun has not reached the westernmost point in its setting yet. It's still to the south, okay, which means technically we're still in the winter season, all right, when the new moon for the first month comes, okay. But we can bounce forward a couple days here, and we see that the sun is now moving toward west here, okay, and can move it toward west more there until we reach that's 322. Let's see, which day does the pre-computed say here that we should have for the yeah, March 22. Okay, so March 22 is when we reach west or north of west the first time. Okay, so that's the spring equinox. That's the beginning of the solar year. So March 11 would be the first day of the lunar year, but March 22 is the first day of the solar year. And it's the solar year that's determinative for figuring out which new moon is the first new moon of the lunar year. Okay, so we count out here 1, 2, 3 for up here in the calendar of Aviv, 15 days to the 15th here, and we see that the 15th day falls on March 25th, okay, all right, and the year began on March 22nd, So we're fine. The Passover is occurring in the new year. Okay. All right. So I'll give you maybe one more example. Let's look at the year of the Exodus on how this works. Okay. So if we go over to 1632 BC and we look here, okay, so we can disregard this for right now because you know the simulation is just going to correspond to the calendar here. We see that the new year occurred on April 4th, okay, the first day of the solar year, okay, and the lunar year, the Passover here occurs on April 11 here. So again, we're okay because the solar year has begun before the Passover, okay, so that Passover observed 3 times in one year and not in the old year, okay, it has to be observed in the new year. Okay, so there's one other criteria for setting the calendar, and that there's a commandment not to delay your first fruits, and this is motivated by a couple of factors. One factor is that the worshipful or the provisional offering for the sacrifice to God should not be delayed. We should not delay in serving God. And also, it's based on compassion because the people were not allowed to eat the new crop until this offering was made. So, to delay the offering would mean to delay the people to have available the new crop to eat. Okay. And so, this is the reason why, even though if a month comes along in which Passover would be in the new year, that month should not be passed over. That month should not be discarded as the first month of the year, and Passover would be observed a month too late if that were the case. All right, so I think I've answered your questions. I do pay attention to your questions, and I'll be answering more of them. So just go ahead and ask in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. Dan Gregg, over and out.